And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11 to 15. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash, and double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, to the house of David. All right, so Brother Aharon coming back at you with another lesson, Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And I'm going to go into this article real quick. It's quite lengthy, so we're going to jump right into it. All right, and it's another indication, all right, of end-time prophecies. And as the scripture says, knowledge puffeth up. All right, we are in the time of knowledge increasing. Therefore, we are seeing the puffing up of those who are being endowed with this said knowledge. And the knowledge that we're speaking of is the information age / technological advancements age. Okay, and it's as it's written, there's no new thing under the sun. We're seeing the digital version of the Tower of Babel. Okay, and we all know what happened to, all right, the Tower of Babel. All right, the Heavenly Father destroyed it, all right, completely, all right, and also confounded the languages thereof. Okay, and we're going to be seeing something similar, but in this case, the dismantling is not just going to be, all right, a confounding of languages, but a confounding of the nations as a whole once America, Babylon the Great is destroyed. Okay, and that day is fast approaching. All right, here it says, Echoes of Babel, when man builds towers with code. By all appearances, artificial intelligence is the marvel of our age, a digital marvel that promises to enhance productivity, revolutionize healthcare, automate legal processes, and generate more content than we could ever read. It's hailed as the next great leap forward in human development. But what if this leap forward is also a lunge into a carefully coded trap? What if AI is not only capable of shaping our world, but of reshaping us? And it sounds very much like what Klaus Schwab said, all right, about the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, that it's not just a change, but it's the person, the individuals. It changes you. Okay, because technology is advancing to the point where the fourth industrial revolution at its core is the merging of humans and technology, otherwise known as transhumanism. Okay, and they're taking the steps now. I saw a video that a brother did. All right, my brother did, going into the FDA. Okay, saying that they're going to incorporate AI, all right, into their steps. All right, as early as June of this month, the end of June, they should have those things incorporated. Okay, in other words, AI is going to be the czar of healthcare. Okay, they're going to be approving a lot of these next level gene therapy is what I'm going to call it. All right, the transformation of the human DNA and so on and so forth. All right, they're going to be approving a lot of these pharmaceutical drugs to hit the market and to be injected into people very, very soon. Okay, so no longer will you be having long periods of testing and waiting and so on and so forth. Now they're saying AI is going to say, oh, based on the data and the collection and the testing that we've done, it's been determined that all people, every man, woman, and child, must take a MOTB. All right, because if not, we're not going to be able to detect, these viruses that are going to be spawning out of nowhere. Right, we're not going to be able to detect who's going outside when they're not supposed to be. Right, there's a lot of things that they're going to come up with. Okay, but it's all part of the transformation of the system. Okay, the reshaping of the minds of the people. All right, step by step. Okay, you have the MOTB technology, MOTB mentality, and then ultimately the MOTB reality. Okay, that's all part of the cause of all, as is written in the book of Revelation 13. We're going to get that last, right? Because that's what it all leads to. Okay, that is the culmination, all right, of all these efforts that these devils are doing, all right, with all this AI stuff. Ultimately, is to have that microchip inside of human beings. Okay, that will give them the ultimate control of all things. All right, this is the truth is AI, which AI stands for what is known as artificial intelligence, but according to the scriptures, the name AI was actually a city. Okay, going back to the time of Joshua, or the second city that Israel conquered after we had gone into after we had left the wilderness and got into the promised land. Okay, AI, we conquered Jericho, and then the next city was AI. Okay, when you go into that word AI, it means what? Heap of ruins. Okay, heap of ruins, man. All right. So it says the truth is AI is not just another tool in the belt of technological progress. It is a mirror and a magnifier of the values, intentions, and ideologies of its creators. Right. So ultimately, people look at AI, artificial intelligence now. Previously, it used to be, like when you think of AI, you think of like, oh, it could help you, write your college paper or, help you answer emails and shit. But AI, what it is now, within the past 5 years, has transformed into something completely different from what people have been introduced to thinking what AI is. Right? The average person thinks of AI as, again, a tool that can be used to make your life a little easier. Right? But when you got companies and corporations that are investing billions of dollars into this AI thing, you got to understand that the fact that they're pouring so much money into it it shows that they're going to be using it for something very sinister. Right? It's almost like all their plans that they tried to establish years ago, decades ago, centuries ago, now they have the ability to actually put it in play. Okay, so they were creating wars, killing millions of people, causing diseases, right? Propaganda, all kinds of different stuff that Esau has done, okay, over the years, all right, in a very short ruling span, but again, effective, right? Over the years, all the things that they've done, now they have the ability to do it, to do more greater damage, all right, in less time, okay, with the use of so-called AI, man. Again, the heap of ruins, okay? It says, it doesn't operate in a vacuum. It learns from data sets curated by humans, and it is trained on vast corpuses of information, both helpful and harmful, truthful and deceptive. That's right. Okay, and that's why this guy, Noah Harari, okay, he said that there's this new religion called dataism. Okay, and you could think, you could say this, that the digitalization is ran by dataism. All right, because the more data they collect, that's what fuels AI. Okay, with the FDA coming out and saying what they said, in other words, the data that they're feeding the AI, whatever information it brings out is going to be pretty much the status quo, so to speak, right? That's what everybody's got to have to do, right? So even if the information is flawed, guess what? That's it's based on the data, So we'll see. It says, and this is where the danger lies. not just in the power AI possesses, but in the hands that shape it and the minds it influences. Once viewed as a helpful assistant managing calendars, writing emails, or summarizing research, exactly, AI is now transitioning into a source of authority. It already has. Okay, it already has. And very soon, you're gonna see Doge, right? Again, the FDA, right? Any and everything that you see now that people are used to, but now it's switching over to AI. It's literally a global takeover. Okay, and AI is going to be like the gods on the earth. You know, it says people are no longer just using AI to generate content; they're asking it life questions. What should I believe about gender? What's the best philosophy to follow? What does history teach us about justice, leadership, and morality? And in many cases, they're accepting the answer AI gives as neutral truth, right? Because they're far away removed from the understanding of the scriptures. That's why they're gonna go to AI, which is created by a man, okay, for answers that only a God can give. Okay, you asking all these stupid ass questions. Really, you should be getting it from scriptures. What does history teach us about justice, leadership, and morality? Open the scriptures and read. Okay, that will tell you everything you need to know. All right. It says, but AI is not neutral. It is shaped by the data set it is trained on, which are themselves reflections of cultural, political, and ideological biases. When those biases lean heavily in one direction, as they often do, the AI's output or the AI's outputs become less a balanced presentation of truth and more a filtered lens that subtly persuades the user toward particular beliefs. That's right. Okay, and that's why you have your social media, on each social media account, you have something known as For You, right? You ever notice that? For You, which are basically, it's a curated / culmination of pictures, videos, whatever you like, whatever you watch, whatever you comment on, whatever you share, things like that. And they just send you things that might be in that same genre or same pool, right? So if you're into like gym and you always constantly watching gym videos or workout videos or fitness stuff, your For You tab will be filled with a whole lot of gym shit, right? If you're into cars, you're going to be seeing a whole lot of car stuff. If you're into women, you're going to be seeing a whole lot of women, right? Stuff like that. So basically the For You is AI tracking the activities that you partake in on social media, all right, and then sending you more of that specifically. Okay. It's sick, man. It's sick, but that's what they do. Okay, and through that they can kind of predict your behavior, right? Your mood, your patterns, everything that you do. Okay, that smartphone, the so-called smartphone is a data collection device. Okay, which spies on you. It listens to everything you say. It watches everything you do. I believe every 5 to 8 seconds or so, your iPhone takes a picture of your face if you have it open. It's a flash that comes subtly. You can't see it, but if you're recording it with another phone, sometimes you can see it. All right. So, they using all this smart technology stuff and all this. It was just a start. Okay, and eventually, as they planning to do, the data collection is not just going to be something that you can use with your phone. It's going to be something that's within you. That's the ultimate form of data collection. Your innermost thoughts, your innermost feelings and stuff is all going to be recorded and collected as data on you, the individual, as a form of controlling you. Okay? Anyway, continuing, it says, for Christians and those who hold a biblical worldview, this should be especially alarming. AI is being built in an increasingly post-Christian society. That's why they're trying to do away with everything Christian. All right? Especially the Bible. All right? Forget about the Christians. That's just a ploy. That's just a catalyst they're going to use, right? But ultimately, it's to do away with the scriptures. All right? They had all these years. The Christians have always been there. They ain't trying to come at them. They ain't trying to come at the Bible. It wasn't until the Israelites came and started bringing the true understanding of the scriptures out to the world. Okay, exposing all the lies, the deception, all right, Esau's power structure being destroyed by the truth. Now all of a sudden, Christians are the worst people on earth. The Bible is the worst book on earth. We must do something about it. They're saying, there was an article, they were saying that the LGBT, the alphabet crew, they're trying to do some whatever witchcraft they got going on, all right, to so-called ban the Bible. Okay, straight up. So hey, we're there. All right, they're saying, oh, we're getting there. No, we're there. All right, all the witches and druids are out. All right, it says, as such, the values infused into AI systems often reflect secular humanism, progressive morality, and relativistic ethics. Okay, if you ask an AI to define what it means to be a good person, it may give you a version of morality completely divorced from the biblical concept of sin, repentance, redemption, and the sovereignty of God. So, wait a minute. If AI, which is the next big thing, all right, is actually not doing anything in the concept of sin, repentance, redemption, it has nothing to do with the biblical view of what could be called good or evil. It doesn't compute, all right, what the Bible says about morality. Okay, it doesn't add that into consideration when it's dealing, of course, right? So then how can AI, which is not built to deal with anything that has to do with the Bible per se, in terms of morality, good or bad, sin, that kind of thing, but yet you got guys from IUIC saying that the MOTB is sin in all its various forms. The digital system that's being created is not even based on the concept of sin. But yet, the MOTB, the most important prophecy before this destruction of this place, right, which has to do with AI, will be sin in all its various forms, both political and religious. How does that even make sense? So they're going to put they're going to put the religious and political in your right hand or in your forehead. But then what's the sin though? Both political and religious is not a sin, right? And you cannot put sin in somebody's right hand or forehead. So their explanation around it is, if you say right hand, if the sin is in your right hand, that means you do sin. But if it's in your forehead, then you think sin. Okay, so how are they going to calculate the sin? We're living in a digital age now, right? Everything is AI powered, right? So is AI going to be digitally calculating who's sinning and who's not? And how are they going to do that? Right? Is it going to be a thing where, how are they going to be able to calculate the sins that you're committing? That when you think sin and you do sin, then you have access to everything in society? Or I don't understand that part. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense at all. Again, we're reading about AI, artificial intelligence, the digital system that we're entering into. IUIC is going to be part of that whole system as well. Because you have government, they're in league with the government. All right. They're an institution / establishment with the 501c3 charter that they signed off. Yeah. Okay. That bribe that they took from the Jesuits. Yeah. All right. So even telling people that, the MOTB, the mark of the beast, is sin in all its various forms. And if you do sin, it's in your hand. And if you think sin is in your forehead, that has nothing to do with AI. But yet we're living in the time of AI. So how does that prophecy be fulfilled? See? Meanwhile, we're telling you everything, all the signs are pointing to the MOTB being the RFID microchip. It's going to be a literal device that if you don't have, you can't buy or sell. All these banks are shifting to that. All these companies, everyone around the world, global, is a global shift towards this digital ID and all this. Real ID and all these different things. It's all leading to the mark of the beast, the MOTB, the C-hit, RFID C-hit. Okay? It has nothing to do with actual sin. Like, that doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is to have a device in your hand that if you don't have, you can't go anywhere to buy or sell. Simple. It's just that simple. Okay? And like I said, AI is not going to be calculating who's sinning and who's not. It's not going to be able to do that. All right. It's not computing morality in a sense of sin. No, no. Okay. It's not even built like that. All right. So that wouldn't even make sense in the age of AI. All right. So continuing, it says here, all right. So even this thing, it says biblical concepts of sin. AI it doesn't compute that. It's not even part of its makeup. So that cuts the whole IUIC breakdown of of Revelation 13, verse 16, 17, and 18, man. It cuts it all the way. Okay? It's so crazy. You could have picked something else, man. That's crazy. Anyway, it says it may affirm lifestyles and choices that contradict scripture. Not out of rebellion, but simply because that's what it has learned from the majority of its inputs. See? And when Christians interact with AI, whether through news summaries, educational tools, or even sermon writing assistants, they may find themselves unwittingly absorbing these alternative worldviews, gradually molding their own beliefs to match the machine's logic. In this way, AI becomes not just a tool for information, but a teacher for transformation. Mm, mm, mm. Causeth all, right? Quietly and visibly, it disciples, right? Because a lot of people are relying on AI, see, and you're adjusting your life based on the requirements that AI is requesting for you in order to access it. Okay, so soon when AI says you need, you know, you need to scan your iris, in order to gain access to your phone, you're gonna do it. Okay, it starts off with it being a new cool thing, another way of convenience, right? You go to a store, you go to anywhere. Now it's going to be the new thing. Scanning your forehead, scanning your face, scanning your arm, scanning your hand, right? All these things. So eventually when it becomes mandatory, there isn't that much pushback. Okay? So continuing, it says, all right, it says, the deeper issue is not just that AI can reflect biases, it's that it will shape the entire infrastructure of how we access and process truth. AI already determines what articles you see on your newsfeed, what answers show up in your search results, and what kind of content is flagged or filtered. Once AI is embedded in schools, hospitals, law firms, government offices, and even churches, it won't be an influence. It will be the filter through which much of modern life flows. And if the architects of this AI share a common worldview, one that rejects absolute truth, embraces moral relativism, and sees traditional faith as regressive, then that worldview will be systemized into nearly every digital encounter. This is not science fiction, it's already happening. For educational chatbots that promote critical gender theory as settled science, to image generators that rewrite history for the sake of ideological inclusion, AI is subtly reinforcing a new cultural narrative, one that often runs counter to historic Christian teaching. That is why the truth is so detrimental to their plans, because we're literally we're literally undoing all the things that they've done to build up to this point. All right, they've done it for hundreds of years of deception and lies and propaganda, right? I mean, damn, the whole fabric of the system that we're living in now is built on fraud and lies. Everything, every direction, everywhere you look, it's all built on lies, man. Complete lies. Okay? And within less than 100 years, bro, you've seen all of this being destroyed. Really, when you look at when things picked up, when the apostles got on YouTube in 07, all right, that's when you start to see things actually change on a world stage. Okay, prior to that, things would happen, but it wasn't as often as they happen now. See, nowadays it's like the chess pieces are being moved a whole lot more faster, right? There used to be a time where they'll move a pawn, right, and it'll take mad long. Then they'll move another pawn, and it'll take another 10, 15 years, then they'll move another pawn, and every pawn that was moved, everybody was looking at it. See, they'll track it. Oh, shit, oh, they just did it. Oh, But now we're at the point where every move they made so many moves that every move they make is kind of like you can't even keep up. Cause like, oh shit, they move this, some Mr. Krabs type shit. You look left, right, left, right, left. Oh shit, they moving so fast. Okay, because they know it that they have but a short time. All right, they have to move, and the truth is in their way. Let me say that again. They have to move, and the truth is in their way. Okay. It says, let's see where I start with. There you go. It says the concern isn't that AI is overtly evil. It's that it has become the perfect medium for reinforcing, quote, the new normal, quote, unquote, without debate. All of this raises a haunting theological question. In a society that no longer looks to God for answers, what happens when people start looking to AI instead? Throughout history, humanity has been tempted to replace the creator with the created, to trade divine wisdom for man-made idols. In our age, the new idol is intelligence itself, right? And when you go into that word intelligence, it goes back to the word demon, okay? The word demon means intelligent or intelligence, all right? So now it makes sense why a lot of these, they call it the Central Intelligence Agency, all right? And when you go into the kind of things that they delve into, you're going to be like, yo, man, that's Isaiah 47, okay? The enchantments, the left-hand energy, all right? That's what this system is built on. That's what this man gets his power from, the left hand, okay? When you go into that word left, all right, I believe it's the word sinistre, right? So we get the word sinister, okay? It says, we are increasingly looking to AI not just for convenience, but for meaning, for authority, for purpose. People are trusting the machine to tell them how to live, what to think, and who to become. And they are doing so with almost religious devotion, because they're worshiping it, right? As we read in Revelation 13, all right, that they should come, and those who do not worship the beast should be killed. Okay, so the system being set up now is going to demand complete devotion / compliance, and those who don't comply, you're gonna be put out. Okay, it's gonna come to that point. All right, they're already setting the stage now with words. Soon it's gonna be actions. Okay, and then eventually it'll be death. All right, is that this is not just dangerous; it's idolatry. All right, it says here, is that we're not just building AI, we're bowing it, or we're bowing to it, and in doing so, we risk becoming less human, less discerning, and ultimately less free. All right. Right here it says, AI is not just a battle over jobs or convenience; it is a battle over truth. All right, over authority, and ultimately over souls. We are entering an era where millions will unknowingly trade biblical wisdom for machine-reasoned ideology. And if we are not careful, even believers may begin to confuse artificial reasoning with divine revelation. They already have. Right? When you got people, so-called Christians, who you have the Bible at home. You claim to be a Christian. You got pastors and all that. You read the Bible almost. I'm hoping you read the Bible, right? But yet, they always have this thing that they got to come against the Hebrew Israelites. We read the same Bible. You can go buy a King James Version Bible and read the same exact words that we're reading. But yet, you're going to have a different understanding or lack thereof. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to have the Spirit, or you're not having the Spirit of the Lord to show you what's really the truth of the Scriptures is what's going to be a detriment to you. Okay, because now you have no sense of direction or compass. Okay, and you're going to be led right into the Luciferian doctrine through AI. All right, the whole sense of self-worship, right? AI is doing that. They're using social media to create this narcissistic self-worship spirit. Just because you got a whole bunch of people you don't know who click a follow button just to see your ass cheeks, especially these women, right? To see your ass cheeks being posted almost on a daily basis, and your stupid ass keeps feeding into that attention, so you keep on posting more and more and more. You see, it's an addiction of a weird service-based system where people like stuff, and the more they like it, the more you feel good about what they like, and so you keep posting more and more and more. I kid you not, you go on certain pages, bro, and it's like a chick, she got the same pose, but a different clothing almost every day. It's like, what? You ain't got nothing else to do with your life? You got nothing, you can't give me a different pose? I mean, damn, at least, right? And the caption sometimes is always different, but the pose is always the same. The same face, the same body, the same leg structure. Like, everything is the same, bro. They all look the same. You know? No one is special anymore. Anyway, continuing says here, let us not be asleep at the wheel. Let us be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Let us use every tool available to advance the truth, but never let the tool become the truth. Because in the end, right, because like the Apostle Gabar always says, right, that the YouTube, right, does the heavy lifting. All right, but YouTube is not the truth. YouTube is where it's an avenue, it's a conduit for the truth. See? But these devils, these fools, they got it all messed up, man. All right, they think that AI is the truth. No, it's not. You can use AI for a lot of good things, but ultimately AI was not designed for good things. Again, AI means heap of ruins. That's not a good thing. All right? Especially when it's being created by the wicked. It's definitely not a good thing. All right? It says, because in the end, AI is not God, but they want you to believe it is. They're going to require you to worship it like it is. 2 Thessalonians, right? It says, it is not omniscient, it is not righteous, and it is not eternal, but our power is, right? And he still speaks more clearly than, it says, more powerfully and more faithfully than any machine ever could, right? And that's why the Lord's going to destroy this place. Okay, just like he did with Babel. Let's get that real quick. All right, he's going to do the same thing, all right, here, especially when America, Babylon the Great gets taken down. Babel, right? Is the book of Genesis chapter 11, verse 1, because remember, there's no new thing under the sun. Okay, everything you've seen today has been done before. All right, just a different way. That's all. Different time period. That's all. Okay. So it says, Genesis 11, verse 1, it says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, right? The whole concept of making everything one, everyone comes into this whole global concept. That's going back to the Tower of Babel. All right, to be one, unison, one order, new world order. Okay, it says, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Okay? And the Lord Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord Yahweh said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Okay, so the whole spirit behind the AI will backfire. Okay, it's going to backfire on the creators and the users of AI. All right, it says, so the Lord Yahweh scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build a city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord Yahweh did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord Yahweh scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Okay? And this time, like I said, The Lord is going to confound, all right, the inhabitants of this world by way of thermonuclear destruction. Okay? Destroy the whole entire concept of this whole universalism bullshit. All right? And now that you have, speaking of universal, now that you have the new Pope coming in, what's his name? Pope Leo? Very interesting, right? Leo mean what? Lion. All right? But this time we're not talking about L-I-O-N. We're talking about L-Y-I-N-G. Lion. All right? It's just a play on words there. Okay? But ultimately, you're about to start seeing them take another step into learning the lines between the AI thing, science and religion. Okay? Now they're going to start incorporating a lot of AI stuff into the church, making you believe that it's okay, making you believe that, oh, you know what? It's all progressive anyway, right? Things are changing. Times have changed, so we got to adapt with it. That's the whole mindset. That's what they're going to start teaching, and you're going to see a lot of people start following that shit. You're going to have those who resist, right? But soon resistance is not going to be the cool thing to do. All right, it's not going to be the cool thing to do because it's going to be met with harsh judgment. All right, from the cruel Lord and his people. Okay, remember the scriptures talk about speaking as a dragon. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of harsh, draconian judgments that's going to befall the inhabitants of the earth for those who are going to stand up and say, we're not going to comply nor bow our knee, right, to the image of Baal. Okay, worship the system. We're going to stand firm against this, and only our God, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, is the only ones we're going to serve. That's it. Okay, so yeah, we're making a stance, man. All right, we're making a stance as we see them increasingly build their way into the so-called AI system. Okay, and hey, the heap of ruins is not too far away. All right, when we see this whole thing come crashing down. Okay, but yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it off there. Lord willing, you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rechakodash. Tawada Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Until next time, Shalom.